Today's episode is built for veterans who want clarity, not noise, when it comes to VA claim strategy and long-term planning.
We're going to break this into 4 focused topics so you can follow the logic and apply it immediately.
First, we will explain the 4 ways the VA grants service connection and when each one applies.
Second, we will define secondary conditions, including how they work and examples of conditions that can be claimed together, starting with the reminder that the primary condition must be service connected.
Third, we will connect VA benefits to financial planning and home ownership, including how service connection can impact the VA loan through the funding fee exemption and how compensation affects affordability decisions.
And fourth, we will zoom out the policy using the VA rule change as a reference point, then give veterans a practical way to stay informed at the federal and local level.
Hello, welcome to the Prepare to Compete podcast, where we talk all things VA benefits, real estate, entrepreneurship, and more. Kenneth Davis, how you feeling today, my brother?
Doing well. Again, today, obviously, as the dust settles, we're here to go ahead and make sure that veterans are informed, educated, and ready to go.
All right, so Kenneth, I know we may, have covered this before, but, sometimes there's some confusion around this concept within the veteran community. So what we'd like to talk about today is exactly what are the 4 types of service connection?
Wow, and it comes up so very often because, again, when we talk about these things, I don't think, sometimes it's so pinpointed on how to get service connected. And a lot of people are so focused on 2 things, right? We're focused on the direct conditions and also secondary a lot of times. But there's other ways about getting service connected. And when we talk about the 4 types of service connection, we're going to look at a direct service connection, which is going to be directly related to military service. We're going to look at secondary conditions, where when we talk about secondary condition can be service connected. And when we talk about secondary condition, I want you guys to understand the condition that you're requesting secondary service connection to must be service connected in order to be related to service. That's one common mistake I think a lot of veterans make on a regular basis, and you'll be very surprised. Again, a third is aggravation. What is aggravation, sir? Aggravation, to be service connected based upon aggravation, you must need an injury prior to military service. Okay, and when we talk about prior to military service, I know there's many veterans that have come in on waivers and different things of that nature. So we gotta understand that. Now that injury must progress beyond its normal. So that injury must, I want to be very specific, it must worsen or intensify beyond its normal progression while in service. It must intensify or worsen beyond its normal progression while in military service. I want to be clear about that. The 4th condition would be presumptive, right? Presumptive has been a really, really big thing with the PACT Act right now and so on and so forth. So again, a presumptive condition, which is a condition that has already been noted by military service. Now you are going to be automatically service connected with a diagnosis as long as you meet the parameters of being in a certain place, time, and circumstance, then that will get you service connected as well.
All right, Kenneth, very much so great information with letting us know the 4 types of service connection. So now when veterans are filling out their VA disability applications, they're often confused on whether they should apply for the service connection under direct, under secondary, under aggravation, or under presumptive. So can you sort of help the veteran community know which situation would a veteran use each type?
Well, specifically, a veteran wouldn't necessarily use a direct service connection, pinpointed action, and I want to make sure that we're all aligned and on the same page. Is that direct service connection? That is going to be the most common, and that is going to automatically be assumed once again a claim is submitted, which typically, if again we are talking about regulatory purposes, and so again a claim adjudicator should actually go through all the service connection types to make sure that that you are qualified under all, right? However, it does behoove you to actually put the service connection type down and what you're looking for. If we are claiming a condition, let's say right knee, secondary to your left knee, and the right knee has caused intensified pain ongoingly, and now with that being said, it should be service connected. So that's a typical situation for secondary service connection. And for aggravation could be a condition where in a situation where you have caused an injury prior to service, let's say assumable a neck injury, and now that neck injury has actually gotten worse over the time while you have either transitioned out of the military or while inside of service. And then now that neck injury has continued to worsen over time, and that's going to actually get your aggravation service connection. But again, one thing I will say, we need to focus on the documentation that transpired prior to service, right? Because we know that the military, either they accepted you or you didn't with that injury prior to service. And lastly, presumptive is going to be a situation where, let's say you were exposed to a toxic chemical. That toxic chemical is then going to go ahead and provide you with, depending on the diagnosis and the condition, it's going to give you the access to service connection based upon exposure, right? Exposure, time, place, circumstance, and you were exposed at that time, and you now have this specific diagnosis. Now, at that point, you could be service connected there.
All right, Kenneth, wonderful information there. So now that the foundation is clear, let's focus on one of the most misunderstood service connection types, and that's going to be secondary conditions. Secondary service connection is so confusing for the veteran community, right? Whether the direct service connection is already service connected, and a myriad of different scenarios for veterans, because oftentimes you might have more than one condition that's affecting another condition. So our veterans really need to know what conditions to claim as secondary to what for the highest likelihood of service connections. So, just to kind of simplify all of that, what is considered secondary conditions for VA service connection?
Well, great question. Well, I think a prime example of a secondary service connection, which I think a lot of veterans could really kind of empathize with, is knee pain, right? Knee pain is something that I think a lot of veterans, when we talk about knee pain, I don't mean actually joint pain, because there's so many different type of runs, physical training, ruck marches. When we talk about running, jumping, jogging, and even standing for long periods of time could cause impact on the joints. And thinking about that, a lot of times what's affected is knee pain, back pain, ankle pain, but it may not be both lower extremities, right? Or it may not be only affected the back, but also nerve conditions. Well, when we talk about knee pain, let's really focus on one knee that is service connected. Now, if there's one knee service connected, and we understand that service connection was implemented during service. However, that was about 10 years ago. How could we find if that knee is really causing pain or range of motion issues or gait or a light limp that has really affected your left knee. And then now you want to be able to claim your left knee to be service connected. Well, I think that's a plausible cause to be able to make sure that you claim your left knee for service connection. And now I think the VA would remiss to say so as well. So I want you to understand that a secondary service connection will always be related to a current service connected condition. Veterans, this is an ongoing problem, and that's why I bring it up. It must be service connected. Your primary condition must be service connected to make a clean pathway for secondary service connection.
No, you bring up a good point there, Kenneth. So now what if the veteran is not service connected yet, but they know one condition caused another? So I know you used the knee example, but let's say back condition causing hip condition or causing lower nerve condition. And is it okay for them in that situation to still claim the lower nerve condition secondary to the back condition, although it's not service connected yet because it's on the same claim?
Yes, totally. You can claim as many second conditions as you would like. It does not matter how many secondary service conditions that you want to claim based upon a one service connected condition. Now, will I say are there actual causation of that secondary condition? Well, we would have to find out. The VA can only make that determination for you. However, also, you can figure out a different possibilities from your actual primary care provider or the physician that is seen. So when you actually go to your medical appointments, because I know all veterans are registered for the VA healthcare system and you guys are getting treatment as you should, that is a cause to be able to ask if that could be a plausible thing that can happen.
Okay, so no, that's a very great point there. So basically, when you are working with your physicians and getting your diagnosis, when you're working with your physicians and getting diagnosed with the condition and getting your treatment plan, that's something that you may want to check with your physicians for during that period of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's only right? We are consistently getting physicals, getting checked, and making sure that our health and wellness is up to par. So why not go ahead and make that request? I think you have the access to make a request to ask questions, and it is your right to ask questions because there could be some pathway there, and that could have been the pathway. But there's multiple pathways when we talk about service connection because when we talk about service connection, I want you to be aware it is not only the primary condition that could cause a secondary service connection. It can be circumstantial as well, right? So let's say that same right knee that is already service connected, well, we understand that your knee could sometimes give out due to instability. It happens all the time. But now your knee caused instability and it caused your knee to give out. Now you have fallen down the stairs. That's why you want to be very aware that your primary service connected condition could really cause a multitude of injuries. Sometimes you got to take a step back and get the assistance that you need to be able to connect the dots. I think that's very important as well. Because a lot of this stuff is complex, but I think sometimes the secondary service connection entry point is a great entry point and entryway for a lot of claims to actually be service connected and granted. Okay, so again, veterans, let's take advantage of this secondary service connection pathway.
No, absolutely. Great information there. And as we kind of continue to still dive into the secondary service connections, want to kind of expand a little bit on some conditions that kind of oftentimes fall on being service connected under secondary basis. So, obviously we're dealing with mental health, unfortunately there, and how that goes along with dealing with symptoms of headaches or sleep apnea. So can you be able to kind of talk to the veterans about how they could successfully navigate those things as secondary conditions?
Yeah, sure. So with that, there's so many different conditions that we can kind of have causation, right? However, I think there's a lot of aspects of certain conditions that's as you mentioned, mental health being able to be a pinpoint factor that could really stem headaches, and that's a factor as well. When we talk about headaches and migraines, again, it can be caused by a multitude of primary conditions, and mental health is one, right? Obvious sleep apnea as well, and again, we can go down the pathway of how sleep apnea can really be caused by mental health issues. Mental health could be, again, they has a arrangement of assortment of symptoms, and understand that there has an arrangement and an assortment of symptoms. I want to be very clear that when we're going down a pathway, and again, this is not current advice on what to do for your claim, but when I'm specifically stating this, understand that mental health could actually cause a lot of weight gain, or cause the decrease in weight gain. So when we're actually looking at mental health, again, you can actually be able to gain weight, and over time, now that weight gain specifically can actually have issues in your respiratory system. The weight could push up your neck, your breathing, your actual breathing. While you're sleeping, your weight gain could actually push up to your airway that could specifically cause issues later down the line, such as sleep apnea. So taking consideration of that, that's a lot of factors, again, that I think veterans don't consider when we're talking about secondary service-connected conditions.
All right, so absolutely great information on secondary service connection. All right, and next we're going to connect benefit strategy to financial planning. And specifically, we want to talk about how compensation in the VA loan supports home ownership. All right, Kenneth, so I know I am the real estate expert of the crew here, but I know you also have a lot of knowledge here. So definitely wanted to kind of go back and forth on the discussion here that's, a large one, right? Home ownership is becoming more and more unaffordable, and veterans really need to make sure they're maximizing their opportunities. So with maximizing the VA benefit, they're really able to increase the type of home they're able to afford. So now when you were going through and purchasing your first home, were you aware of just how the funding fee intersected with VA service connection?
No way, no how I was aware about any type of funding fee exemptions. Just going through the process was just a new and scary new life that I was just unaware of. And also going through the process, one thing that that you always want to kind of peel back to see is what benefits can actually help the veteran. And the VA loan is one. Again, VA loan entitlement is one of the grandest benefits for a veteran, and that most veterans and all veterans should use. However, there are stipulations, and the VA funding fee was one that I did not know about.
No, absolutely. That's an important one that the veterans and even active duty service members need to be aware of. So of course, if you are at least 10% service connected, you qualify to have that funding fee waived. Okay, so it's going to be considered an exemption due to being service connected. And that funding fee can be a significant amount, with it being 2.15% of the loan amount on your first purchase utilizing the VA loan. And if you use the VA loan again, because what some veterans don't know is you can utilize that VA loan more than once, you can actually have the funding fee increase. So you want to make sure you're maximizing your VA benefits. And if you qualify for service connection, you absolutely want to utilize that, because that's going to help decrease thousands of dollars on your spending for your home loan.
When we talk about the funding fee, right, there's so many different layers with it. You're absolutely right. It saves thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for veterans. And it's just as simple of making sure that you are 10% service connected. And in some cases, we can arguably say this is one of the house hacks that, that we can be applied to what house hacking looks like, right? But I will say, again, when we're talking about that, your benefits play a huge part as well. Because when we talk about this additional tax-free compensation, this is a very, very, very special thing. And why I say it's so special, because it is currently at this moment tax-free, and the VA loan looks at it as such. Again, when we talk about that, it is going to give you the opportunity to support you and your family to enter homeownership based upon the benefit compensation that you receive. Okay. And now with those benefits, we want to make sure that you are not only walking into the house as a first home buyer, but your VA disability compensation could assist being able to get you in the house that you want. And why I say that is because it is tax-free. And now we can go into the discussions of being able to leverage that by increasing lowering your DTI, or debt to income ratio. But again, we can go on and on about that. But again, specifically, the VA loan is one of those most magnificent entitlements that is offered.
No, absolutely. And really, it acts as the gateway, right? So when you are, looking at purchasing a home and you are a service connected veteran, well, that increased income, again, as Kenneth said, is going to be a tremendous tool for you to have additional funds, right? Because oftentimes you may be limited in what you make on your regular job. However, when you combine having your extra $4,000 a month, that's going to make a world of difference in qualifying for a home, but also just in being able to maintain a basic standard of living as expenses continue to arise. So what you really want to do, and kind of what we want to shift the conversation towards, Kenneth, is how veterans can really make sure that they're having the correct financial planning and not experiencing that lifestyle creep when they're getting service connected. Because a lot of times you'll have that big back pay, and you may go out and hopefully, again, as we're talking about, purchase a home, but you may buy a new car, you may get new furniture, other different toys and things that you like for yourself, your spouse, and the kids. But you really want to make sure that you are utilizing that and you're really treasuring that money, right? Because if you think about the reason that you're receiving that money in the first place, it's because you put your body on the line for the country. So every penny that you receive from the VA, you want to make sure that it's going towards something that is very much so meaningful for you and your family.
Listen, veterans, by all means, we are not here to tell you what to do with your compensation, your benefits, and also your disability compensation, or any type of benefits that's offered to you, including the VA home loan. But what we are here to do is educate. Listen, veterans, you put your mind, body, and soul on the line, and thousands before you has lost their lives. So let's cherish the benefits that's offered to you. Not only cherish the benefits, let's put them to good use for your family. for your family. This is who you're doing it for. So let's make sure that we really, really take use and really, really put in perspective how your benefits can be useful to buy a home. You remember BH? That's what it is. Let's go ahead and make sure that we continue to utilize those benefits for good use. And when we talk about financial planning, I do want to always make sure that we speak on how is it going to maximize the VA home loan.
The compensation primarily helps, again, for you to qualify for the home. Okay, so it's going to be added to your qualifiable income. So if you have a job or career yourself, your spouse, and then you're able to add that additional income. So if you needed that to qualify for a bigger home, great. But if not, it can be calculated as reserves so that even if, let's say, without that additional income, let's say you qualified for a $500,000 house, but maybe with that additional income, you may qualify for a $650,000 house, but you can still choose to buy a $500,000 house and just totally disregard that income, even though that's going to be a permanent benefit for you in most cases. So it really just provides an extra security blanket for you funding your living expenses in any sense of how you decide to utilize that. And even though, let's say you're 100% permanent in total, and we're just kind of rounding up here and saying you're receiving $4,000 a month, they're not counting just the $4,000 a month because it is non-taxable funds there. So they're grossing that up, and the lenders have their own calculations on how they do that. So you always want to make sure that you are speaking with a real estate professional in your area, and also your mortgage lender, so they can educate you on your exact situation. But one other underutilized benefit that the veteran community is not always exposed to is that when purchasing a home, so many different states and so many different local programs have down payment assistance programs that you can, in fact, utilize your VA loan for. Now, because the VA loan does not require a down payment, many active duty personnel and veterans utilizing the VA loan, they don't think towards utilizing down payment assistance. But many of those programs can be utilized for closing costs. They can be utilized for, in addition to just the closing costs that is associated with the transaction, you may have credit card debt that you may want to pay off and add that as closing costs on that loan. You can utilize those down payment assistance programs a lot of times for that. So you always want to talk to your real estate professionals in your area and really look at all of the options. Yes, you already have the down payment taken care of, utilizing that zero down payment required VA loan, but those other avenues of assistance programs can really assist you with maximizing, and that's truly a maximization of your VA benefit.
Wow, no, true indeed. I can't agree more. And also I think we missed one hugely valuable point: stability. Right? That stability that the lender or real estate professional really goes in to look for when calculating your jobs, your income, and your pretty much total overall gross income that is calculated, in which your affordability of your home. We have to really understand that they're also looking for stability, and that is a stable income that is going to be ongoing. But I tell you right now, one pro tip, right? A lot of times, and again, it's going to be based upon the lender that is being used. When we talk about disability compensation, that is something that is going to typically be an ongoing monthly compensation payment due on to you. But a lot of veterans ask, can I use my GI Bill education benefits for my home purchase? Well, typically, unfortunately, a lot of lenders, the answer would say no. And because it is a temporary income that is going to be paid out to you while you're in school. So unfortunately, that income that is drawn in is not taken into consideration for your actual loan amount.
All right, Kenneth, to really finish what we're talking today, just wanted to zoom all the way out, right? And, talk about why policy changes matter and how veterans could ultimately stay informed about the changes before it actually impacts them. All right, Kenneth, huge news came out this past February 2026 regarding the recent VA medication rule that, took the veteran community by storm, right? So now what we want to talk about today is just why these changes happen and why they matter to the veteran community.
Well, listen, veterans, staying abreast with any type of regulatory change, policy change, update in law, it is very, very, very impactful for veterans to understand and also find out what is being updated, what is being amended, what is being rescinded, what is being pushed through, because it directly impacts you and the veteran community, and the most important, your family. It's just, you want to be a part of that. So understanding the underlying elements and understanding how important this information is, it is critical because it can make or break your benefits.
Absolutely. And, what we, I guess, want to know and educate the community regarding is just how can they actually stay informed? You have so many changes that are very polarizing on the federal level, but you also have so many state and local policies as well. It often could become a full-time job trying to stay in the know. So how can veterans kind of stay ahead and stay in the know of the policy changes that impact them?
Well, it's so many different ways to stay informed, right? But let me give you a few of how not to stay informed, and then we'll get into some that how to stay informed. Well, let's stay away from clickbait, social media headlines, without looking into what the real policy is. Because when we're talking about directly, let's talk about VA policy specific. A lot of policy is going to be pushed out to you through the Federal Register a lot of times to be able to analyze, to be able to contribute comments and make sure that you are abreast with the actual change, regulatory change that is happening. Okay, so staying away from clickbait is possible one. Staying away from fear mongering, right? If a lot of news or media that's pushed out does not give you direct correlation in what is the law, but also what is the regulation and how it directly impacts you with a bill number or regulatory change number. In fact, guess what? If it is not tied to that actual agency or that bill number, that is going to be something that we need to take in consideration. Just because a bill is sent up and being passed or being introduced by a champion, a senator or legislator or what have you, does not mean it's going to get passed. So let's stay informed about how, when, and what it affects. Those three are very impactful. So let's stay away from fear mongering. And I think one of the last ways of not to to get the information is simply the rumor mill, right? That travels so fast. Listen, veterans, we always want to make sure that we have clarity in any type of regulatory change or any type of regulation update that directly impacts you. And listen, we love our brothers and sisters in arms, but a lot of them are not policy professionals. So let's take that in consideration. And you don't have to be a policy professional to actually understand policy. But what I will say you need to do is make sure that you're in the room and be aware. So if they are not effectively in the room, council meetings, board meetings, commission meetings, city chambers, at the local veteran organizations, town halls, and so on and so forth, well, a lot of times, I'll tell you right now, they're probably going to be ill-informed because VA benefits, such as the VA home loan, such as VA disability compensation, such as voc rehab, and I can go on and on and on. It is literally being discussed at all those places. And it could impact you on a state level, local level, and federal level. So it is going to impact all levels of government, but directly impact you. So the information is filtered through all levels, but it directly impacts one person, the veteran. So you need to stay abreast in all fashions. And now let me give you one way on how you can stay informed. You can always hear to be prepared to compete, where we're always going to give you any type of policy updates that's going to directly affect you and also affect the benefits that services you and your family. And also, you can also join our community where we're going to always push out the greatest and best information that has been vetted to you guys. So there's no worries in understanding what is real and what is not.
No, absolutely. Great information there, Kenneth. And, before we kind of close it out here, you gave them all the different kind of resources and access points, right? And just wanted to reiterate why it's important, because a lot of times the congressmen, the government officials, they're really looking for as much feedback as possible. And if they don't have that feedback, it's really hard for them to really make the right decisions and implement policy correctly, because certain things they just do not consider. There's been so many things on the local level here in Las Vegas, even within real estate. They've implemented new programs and policies for homeownership. And just with a couple extra words, they could have actively included veterans and active duty service members amongst that with the VA loan. But for one reason or another, not enough advocates were in the room to just say, hey, well, if you just do this, because you are impacting those communities anyway, right? And so just kind of being in the room and providing that feedback goes a long way with making sure things are implemented efficiently and effectively. And there's been a lot of changes even within the education sector, right? I know there's been some different changes with the GI Bill that they're changing regulations due to realizing the implementation of a said policy wasn't really what they thought it was going to be. So, Kenneth, if you wanted to really kind of talk to the veterans a bit, definitely those who stuck around here to this stage, so they can really know more about that regarding the utilization of the GI Bill and the new changes that actually just came effective here in February of 2026.
On April 16, 2024, the United States Supreme Court decided Rudisill versus McDonough. Okay. And when we talk about this new policy change, it was one that swept the veteran community. It was very interesting. So the ruling change was specifically how veterans qualify for both the MGI Bill or Montgomery GI Bill reference and the post 9/11 GI Bill. Can you use both benefits? So specifically in this court case, they stated you had to have 2 separate periods of qualifying service. This could mean more months of educational benefits for you. And that was a really, really big deal at that time. Because during that time frame, we must understand that to qualify for the Montgomery GI Bill, most veterans had to pay into the Montgomery GI Bill in order to qualify. So when the change happened, most veterans needed to basically choose which option they wanted to go. They needed to choose why they wanted to select the Montgomery GI Bill, from why they wanted to select the Montgomery GI Bill, or understand why they wanted to select the post 9/11 GI Bill. Well, I'll be the first to tell you that majority of veterans never understood what was the benefits of both. Primarily understanding the critical needs of the benefits and also the critical benefits that you're going to receive that's going to also be very beneficial for you and your family. So with that being said, though even both each programs were earned based upon your service period, the Supreme Court rejected it. The Supreme Court rejected that option where both benefits should be considered of use. What the court said was, and I want to clarify, if you earn eligibility for both programs through separate qualifying periods of service, you may use benefits under both programs up to a total combined cap of 48 months, not both at hand. All right? So I want you to understand that you cannot use both at the same time, right? It's going to be a total combined of maximum remains of 48 months. And let's be very clear, it's a maximum 48 months, and the benefits must be earned through 2 separate qualifying service periods. This is not new money that they're coming up with. No, it is just a correction of entitlement that you had already deserved, and it was calculated and provided to you. So we want to know how many veterans it potentially impacted. Well, based upon data alone, and obviously we understand data can be skewed either left or right. So we want to make sure that we take that in consideration. But now, based upon data alone, the VA specifically estimated it could be over 1 million beneficiaries who could be impacted. And I want to be very, very focused on who I talk to. You could fall in this category if you served 2 distinct qualifying periods of service, you used the Montgomery GI Bill benefits first, you then use your post 9/11 remaining months, and they were reduced because of the usage of your Montgomery GI Bill. Then also you were told that you had to forfeit the remaining Montgomery benefits to access the post 9/11 GI Bill. If that happened, you may be entitled to additional months of education benefits. So let's go ahead and bring that back. If you had 2 qualifying periods of service, if you were then utilizing your Montgomery GI Bill, and then you decided to transfer over to your post 9/11 GI Bill, which again, they reduced the amount of the post 9/11 GI Bill, and now the usage of your Montgomery GI Bill were totally axed, right? So you forfeited it. But with that being said, it gave you access to post 9/11 entitlement. Well, they're saying that you could be entitled to additional months because it was earned and that was an entitlement that you deserved. Well, I know that a lot of veterans, when we talk about education benefits, we roll into VR&E, right? vocational rehab, okay? Voc rehab, as some would call it, but vocational rehab and education benefits, all right? Well, during that time frame, I want you all to know that, and a lot of veterans had the question of, well, what about my voc rehab or a VR&E, or also called veteran readiness and employment program, right? Well, let's be clear. That was a very smaller group of veterans who participated because you guys didn't have us to educate you so you can understand about VR&E or voc rehab, that what you're entitled to, and you can be able to maximize both benefits to be able to get the education career path that you was afforded to you. Well, if you were in a VR&E and you did not receive post 9/11, right? Or I'm sorry, if you are in voc rehab or VR&E and you did not receive the higher post 9/11 housing rate, you may be eligible for a recalculations subsistence payments that can be due onto you. This is just simply an oversight. This is what we're talking about when we talk about policy and policy implementation and understanding this. This is simply just a technical oversight. So that retroactive adjustment could be due onto you if, again, you qualify during that time frame. So what does the veterans really need to do at this time? And I want you guys to understand this is very critical to you. Well, if you were claiming any education benefits and it happened on or after August 15, 2018, well, the VA will automatically review your records. It's going to be automatic. But now, if your education claim decision was before August 15, 2018, you must submit a claim to the VA for a review of eligibility. Now, with that being said, we understand the VA is very consistent with cutoff dates. There is an expiration for recalculation, and the expiration is October 1st, 2030, veterans. After that date, normal expiration rules will apply. So do not wait until 2029 to figure this out, because you can actually have your benefits and entitlement back reenacted and utilized. So let's really kind of understand what should you be doing today. It's very simple. Review your service history. If you qualify for 2 periods of service, then we're going to look at the certificate of eligibility. And now, if your certificate of eligibility was your post 9/11 benefits was reduced because of your GI Bill, right? Your GI Bill benefits, it was reduced because you transferred your Montgomery GI Bill to your post 9/11 GI Bill. Well, if that decision was before August 15, 2018, well, consider submitting that claim for review. And if it was after, it is going to be reviewed automatically. So go ahead and wait on a notification letter from the VA, right? We want to make sure that we're ensuring that you're not leaving any benefits on the table, and this could be one. So be very focused and be very strategic about your education benefits. This is not a small ordeal, because your education benefits, whether if it's VR&E, whether if it's post 9/11, whether if it's Montgomery GI Bill, they could fund your degree, they can fund your trade, they can fund your graduate degrees, they can fund your career transition. 48 months of entitlement is a difference between a bachelor's degree and a graduate degree. The difference of the 48 months entitlement can be the determination between a bachelor's degree and a graduate degree. This could be specifically a monumental change for your family and a monumental change for you as a veteran. So let's go ahead and make this strategic focus to make sure that you check on your benefits, okay? Because the ruling will reinforce something very important. The benefits you earned should be entitled to the veteran. This is not doing any discretionary favors for you. This is simply getting the benefits that you deserve. So if you qualify if you qualify for those 2 periods of service, you use both the GI Bill programs, Montgomery GI Bill and also post 9/11 GI Bill, this is the opportunity to review your file now. Let's make sure that we're both in alignment. You can be offered the benefits that you deserve in recalculation, and a recalculation could be somewhere in your near future. And if it does not apply to you, if someone you served with, they may have that similar circumstance, well, let's share the information, because that's what we do here at Prepare to Compete. And we'll stay very abreast with all the, VA implementation, provide updates and guidance as things continue to evolve, and as we continue to make sure that you're informed and prepared.
Now, wow, Kenneth, that was amazing information, and definitely the veterans need to know, right? There's so many benefits out there. It's hard to maximize what you are unaware or uneducated of because it's so much information, right? There's so much scuttlebutt talk. You don't know what's true. You don't know what's not true. So we're here to ultimately support you. So definitely reach out to us. Our number's on the screen here. We can absolutely assist you with continued education regarding your benefits. So give us a call or actually even just join our community. If you ever have a question, we'll be able to answer your questions within that community. And we'll also have more policy content and other conversations within our learning center that dives even deeper into this information here that's also important to you all. So thanks for watching. Life is a marathon. Prepare to compete. We're out. Peace.